California, finding and resisting the inevitable changes that will have to come is not very encouraging to me and many, many, many people. So in closing, I have to say, as a person of faith, and though I am disappointed that many religious people, I don't know how many religious people are here, I think they're really thrilled with their response, but I do have to say that many religious people are becoming aware that this is a moral, spiritual issue. And for us, it's blasphemy that people's lives and God's creation is being trashed for a buck. Thank you.
Our next speaker will approach the microphone is Sharon Wilson, to be followed by Wendell Whitfield. Sharon Wilson. She stepped away, I'll put it toward the back just in case. And so, Wendell Whitfield.
Yes, thank
Be
you.
followed by Susan Cook.
Good. Thank you, panelists, for being here tonight. And thank you, everyone in this room. My name is Wendell Withrow. I am the current chair of the Dallas Sierra Club. I'm the former chair of the Lone Star chapter of Sierra Club, with approximately 50,000 members. But what I'm really here to talk about tonight is just a little bit of my 31 years as being an attorney and having dealt with the TCEQ and various agencies over my career. And you talk about the culture issue, and I actually only want to touch that a little bit because I think everybody's going to hear it. But I think certainly we all know that TCEQ is way too close to the corporate interests that they're supposed to regulate. And what it's created, gentlemen, is that we basically have an inside club, and the average Texan is not a member of that inside club. And so, frankly, the only way that's ever going to change is if, at the very least, we get TCEQ to be more independent. I'm reminded very much of the battle that's going on over those fire deaths and the arson cases, where you just keep removing the head person until you find someone that's going to vote your way. And we've got to keep TCEQ to be more independent and to try to take care of that problem. The second thing is the average Texan. And I think it's very important, Senator Cronin, you mentioned the nonpartisan nature. Certainly, clean air and clean water is nonpartisan. No matter whether you are Democrat, Republican, or Independent, you can't have the average Texan viewed as an obstacle to the process. You have to take us into account, because having been to these hearings, been to these TCEQ contested cases, you have rooms like this where the people, I mean, they live across the street from this massive landfill that's going to, send trucks up and down their road where their children play. I mean, the personal impact is huge once you get past the point, well, they're Democrats, or they're just in a small town. They don't really count. And so you have to get to that point where you look at the individuals. The third thing I want to talk about is that it's a safety issue. I mean, we're sort of that point. And what I want to leave you with finally, it actually just happened yesterday, gentlemen, is that I went through Post, Texas. For those of you who don't know where Post, Texas is, it's just east of Lubbock. And I was going through it, and it's a beautiful, absolutely spectacular, clear panhandle West Texas day. And immediately upon hitting the city limits, the stench was unbelievable. Even with air conditioning on, it went through the filter of the air conditioning. You could smell it inside your car. And so you start looking around. Of course, my first thought was having lived in West Texas, well, there may be a feedlot somewhere here, but it wasn't a feedlot. It was oil well pumping, gas wells. You can see the heads of the gas wells that have been there. And they put them on every single corner. In other words, I've always grown up, born and raised in Dallas. I've always thought, well, put oil and gas out in the country, it's not that big a deal. But ladies and gentlemen, you all know this, especially Tarrant County people and some Dallas County people, oil and gas is coming to us. And Post, Texas has them on every corner, every parking lot. If you're a church, you put it in your church parking lot, and it's coming to us. And so everybody says, well, maybe you'll make a lot of money. But I'm telling you, the people of Post, Texas, the people that made the money are gone. They went to move to some cleaner place. The people left are the ones having to smell that stench. So my only advice to everyone in this room and to our panelists is that it's coming. It's coming here, 13,000 wells already in the Barnett Shale. I've got one that's probably going to be 150 yards at the most from my house. And so if we don't do something now, it'll be too late. We'll be like Post, Texas, with an oil well on every single corner and a stench that you can't get rid of. And contrary to what Gary said, I am optimistic that the Republicans in power in Texas will finally wake up. Many of our greatest environmentalists have been Republicans. They always have told us, they told everybody, we love the land. That's why, that's why we're Republicans. So I call on all the Republicans, the independents and the Democrats, to, again, make it a nonpartisan issue. Protect our state, protect our citizens. Those corporations, they're from Hong Kong, they're from someplace else. They're not from Texas. They can care less about Texas. Texas is a place to make money. We need to make a stand. And I'm sorry if I went along with my time. Thank you so much.
Because I am watching the timekeeper. So here's the timekeeper, but I have had to be yanked out because you all been doing such a great job. So now that there's a panelist opportunity to respond to Mr. Stewart, Mr. Withrow.
I was just going to say with regard to Mr. Withrow, besides being a very distinguished attorney, went to junior high school through high school with this gentleman here. And, he was buying an occasional breakfast. We could probably cover more of these environmental issues.
Thank you, Terry. Now's as good a time as any. There are a lot of what might be called Barnett Shale activists in the room. I want to make sure you all have on your calendars an official hearing as opposed to this town hall meeting sponsored by interested public citizens on Thursday, November 18th at 9 o'clock in the morning at the Fort Worth City Hall. The House Energy Resources Committee will be having a hearing on the Barnett Shale. It is very narrowly defined time frame from 9 to like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I've not seen a posted agenda, but if you are a Barnett Shale activist, I hope you will get that on your calendar.
Let me just add something that Mr. Withrow said about the experiences that folks in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and West are experiencing. Guess what? With the Eagle Ford Shale, our neighbors in Houston, Galveston, Fort Bend County area, all the way to San Antonio, all the way into Laredo in northern Mexico, are about to have the same experiences because it's going to be an equal, if not greater, exploration and production effort. And if you saw the papers recently, China is pumping money into that whole operation to make it profitable. And so I fear that we're not learning from our mistakes in this area as we begin to see the growth of that whole effort in the South Texas area, and we really need to.
Susan Clifford. And did Sharon Wilson come back in?
She's not going to be
Not going to be there.
there.
So,
I can tell. I just text her.
all right, I won't worry about that part again. Thank you.
I am Susan Soros Cooper, frightened citizen. Frightened because voters are just elected officials who care nothing for the environment, who cave in to corporate pressures for the sake of profit, who think that we environmentalists are liberal crazies, and who scoff at scientists who have proven that global warming is a real threat to our planet. These climate change deniers are not scientists. They are expressing their unfounded opinions. Worse, they are now free to act on these opinions. I addressed the TCEQ in 2 public hearings. My frustration was the same. Our air has been in non-attainment for over 20 years. They gave a presentation about studies. These proved what we already know, that a poisonous pall blankets our area. Further studies are useless. They described a plan to be implemented in 3 or 4 years. We want action now. What I heard at a recent EPA hearing about oil and gas drilling emissions made me sick at heart. It might be said that emissions from various pollutants are at safe levels individually. Combine all these chemicals into the perilous potion in our air because of emissions from coal-fired power plants, cement kilns, and oil and gas drilling, and there is no way to predict the appalling illnesses and disabilities that these poisons can cause. Every person living in Texas is in danger. The American Lung Association ranks states for air quality. Texas received an F, failure. The time is now to regulate the emissions from polluting industries and to impose the most enforceable penalties for non-compliance, even shut them down. Texas, stop granting permits for rampant polluters and turn our attention to creating green power. Texas, follow California's example. Legislate now to achieve real progress toward reduction in greenhouse gases. Yes, we need a regulatory commission, but not one that is appointed by Governor Perry. We need a commission with environmentalists and scientists whose only mission is to clean up our air and preserve our environment for all time to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cooper. Thank you. And I'd like to respond to Ms. Cooper's remarks. Our next speaker is John Nicholson, to be followed by Wesley Bell.
Good evening. I've had a few times where I was going to work, which I'm now out of, by the way. And one of the things I would do is drive over to 820 over here and turn south. And it was one day where we just had a cold front come through. You know, clearing rain, it should have took all this soot and anything else you can think of in the air out early morning, so there shouldn't be any of this stuff in the air. Now, whenever I did that corner, if you ever go to take that corner, you know that it goes up high enough that you can see over the Trinity Valley. And it's brown. The air is brown because of all this stuff in the air that morning. Now, I know that needs to be solved. That's just one part I want any comment on. The other one is with what just happened in the last 24 hours. We had a nice little earthquake within 20 miles of a nuclear power plant. Yes, it was just only 2.6, but who's to say it's not going to be a 8.8 right next to the power plant? Who knows? What is to make that not happen? They're saying it might be because of these oil wells being put in, gas wells too. I understand that though. I understand, if you drill a hole, there's a good probability that if you're taking the gas out, you're relieving pressure, you're going to cause an earthquake. It's real simple physics. You ask anybody that's going to be investigating this, they know it's very plausible. So it shouldn't be a question if the TECQ should not do something about that. They should stop it and say, you know, we got to make sure that does not happen, especially near a nuclear power plant. I know there's also, like what I've heard a lot of other people say, you know, I went to one of these, the See and Kill meetings a couple of years back, and I see very little action. When I hear anything